We're running such big deficits, big spending, and there's a lot of people that feel because of the spending that's going to prolong the recession. But last year we had $1.5 trillion deficit. This year another $1.5 trillion. And I put it in perspective. I said the first 206 years of our government, we accumulated $1 trillion in debt. The last 6 months we accumulated another $1 trillion debt or deficit. So it's a big concern. It's a fine line. They want to get the economy going, but at the same time, we can't afford to keep spending. Where the state of Florida, for example, they have to balance their budget. They make the hard decisions. Up there, we just go borrow from the Chinese. It's wrong.
Mike?
No, it's a tough issue.
Yeah, it is.
And I happen to know that the congressman, I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Vern, but I think the very first bill you ever introduced was balance the budget.
Balance the budget,
okay?
That's correct.
And last year, we actually passed a balance the budget resolution in the Florida legislature, asking our federal government to, let's live within our means. What are we doing? And you can never tax your way out of a recession. You just can't do it. And what we should be doing is cutting down on that spending to allow the people to keep more money, because what they're going to do is they got to raise the taxes to pay for that bill. We got to pay for the piper sooner or later, and when they do, we're going to deepen this recession, and I think that that's just bad business.
So you think it's going to be a double dip? Are you saying you think it's going to be a double dip?
Absolutely. I mean, if in fact we decide to start paying the bill.
I'm hoping not. There's a lot of people that are out there hurting. You know, I know my family members, others. It's been tough 2-3 years, and I really like to hope that we can get this thing back on track. But I will say, the senator's right. You know, my first year up there, 49 out of 50 governors have to balance the budget. If you look at you know, the deficit spending the last 50 years, 45 out of 50 years, they haven't paid the bills as they go. And it's not just about Republicans and Democrats, it's both. And I introduced a constitutional balanced budget amendment my first week there with the idea, you know, our first year there, Mike's budget up there is $65 billion or so, but our budget, my first year in 07 was $2.7 trillion.
Right.
And we were up 10% for the year. And we still overspent $130 billion. Now fast forward at 2 years more, we've gone up 10 times the deficit, $1.3 trillion, which we've never had over $400 billion deficits as a rule of thumb, 450, which were outrageous back then. But now $1.4 trillion last year, $1.5 trillion this year. So we have to take a look at how many dollars we get in from taxpayers and get the best value back to the taxpayers, but don't spend more than you take in, like Florida or our counties or cities or families, because at some point, you know, you end up like Greece. And that's my concern, is that we're on the road to Greece if we don't change the way we do business in Washington.